Welcome to the Crypto News. In this video, Gareth Soloway shares his prediction for Bitcoin. Listen to what he has to say.
So it's a tricky road here. The market is not understanding that the Fed has its hands tied yet. And I think that's going to be the next shoe to drop later this year, like November, December, when the markets are like, oh, look, we're in a recession. Fed, please come save us. And the Fed's going to say, guys, inflation's at 4 or 5% still. We can't print money and save the day. And then you see the next big market flush. Per the last Federal Reserve meeting a few weeks ago, we basically had a little bit more of a dovish Federal Reserve tone, right? So they raised the 75 basis points, which is what the market expected. But in the conference, it was a little bit more dovish. That created this massive move up in the tech sector. We saw stocks and the S&P just rip higher, right? Now, interestingly enough, we got the jobs report this morning, right? So the non-farm payrolls came out. It came out over 500,000 new jobs. And that kind of made the markets freak out a little bit because I think the markets had thought the Federal Reserve was almost done raising, if not done, and expected a weaker jobs report to kind of confirm that they were on the sidelines. With this better than expected jobs report, I think it puts September in play for at least 25 basis points, maybe 50 basis points. And that has the market again a little bit uneasy that the Fed is just going to keep tightening monetary supply. Now, for me personally, I think that the jobs numbers are lagging. So I think that, again, you're going to see more and more weakness coming in the coming months. So maybe the Fed raises in September a little bit, but I really do believe that's it. I think that'll be all that there will be, because I do think we'll be in a defined recession. I mean, even now with the GDP numbers, you could say, yeah, we're in a recession, but the jobs numbers kind of go against that. But I do think by end of year, there's no doubt about whether or not it's a recession. But basically what you've had is ever since we pierced that initial pierce of the 2017 highs here, we've seen Bitcoin kind of go up a little bit, come down, up, down, and basically going sideways to slightly higher. So I'm inclined to think that in the near term, we continue to see that price action. I kind of expect one more move up here, maybe in the Bitcoin chart, hitting 25,500. There's a small chance we could get up to resistance at 28 and change. But ultimately, I think that later this year, when that shoe drops, that the Fed can't save the day, and it causes a big risk reduction, right? You have a risk-off environment. We know that Bitcoin goes down in a risk-off environment. Once the stock market investors realize that, it's going to filter through to crypto. And I do think there's still one more leg lower before we finally get a bottom. And I'm still pricing in really a target price of around $13,000 to $12,000 on that next flush. Again, the easy way for us to tell is to look at this channel, right? So see this upsloping the bottom line, that's kind of keeping price in check. As long as price stays in here, I think you favor neutral to upside, maybe here or here. But if you break this line, this is a definitive trend line connecting all these lows, that's where I think you start to flush. You'll probably get a small bounce at the previous 2017 high and then eventually break through that. So I think, again, yeah, short-term neutral to positive on Bitcoin from here. And then again, later this year, you got to expect one more flush out. And it probably will be the nastiest and the worst in terms of fear, because always the end of cycles are the scariest, right? Where things, imagine seeing Bitcoin at 12 or 10,000. Everyone's going to start to doubt, like, will Bitcoin survive? Can it survive? That's when you actually, as an investor, need to start thinking about really buying into it. So I think the narrative right now is, and what's interesting for me is that you can see the kind of the angle on Bitcoin's been very sideways to slightly up. It's not been vertical bouncing. And I think part of that, and what's interesting is if you look at the NASDAQ's really ripped up, and those usually coincide. So a lot of people have been saying, well, why hasn't Bitcoin had a big move up like the NASDAQ instead of just going slightly up sideways? And I think the answer there is that, with Celsius and Voyager and all these other ones, you have a lot of money that's just scared. Like, who wants to put their money in with these brokers and be in crypto when who knows what the next shoe to drop is, which broker is going to go under, which one's going to file for bankruptcy. So I think that's kind of keeping a lid on the upside price in Bitcoin as well. But I think later this year, that narrative is going to shift to that panic sell-off And I do think the final flush out will be something major. I don't know if it's Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy's finally throwing in the towel and dumping their Bitcoin at like 10,000. Maybe we see a bigger broker go bankrupt. I mean, all these possibilities are there, but I do think more is going to happen before you get an ultimate bottom. If past cycles are any indication, and I can show, we can go to the 2017 cycle here. So what's interesting about the 2017 cycle is you kind of had this period where we had the big dump out, and then you had this lots of chop for a while, which could be what we're doing right now. I'm not sure, but that would make sense if it were to go till like October, November. And then you had this final flush out. And then notice how it took a while for it to kind of digest before finally starting to make that next move up. So again, if you look at this final flush, it kind of bottomed out in December of 2018. And then the next move up, you could arguably say, kind of started in April. So my guess is you have about 6 months of chop around the lows where you have people that are saying, this is the worst. And then you have people that are nibbling, maybe smart money starting to buy down there. And you get that kind of exchange where neither side is winning. They're just exchanging shares from people that are fearful with people that are buyers and saying, okay, this is the right time to accumulate. So my guess is, yeah, you'll see usually bottoms, you'll see a lot of chop as the bottom is made.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Markus Dan, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I intend, how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Markus Dan.